Hey, it's Brielle with Seibert Solutions, and today we're here with Daniel with Rewind, and I'm excited to say that we're going to be talking about your app Rewind backups. So I would love to kind of pass over the floor and have you kind of give us a little more context.
Awesome. Yeah, so Rewind builds backup and recovery tools for the entire Atlassian suite. So that's Jira, Confluence, Trello, and Bitbucket. And really the point of Rewind is to have daily backups for anything that's been created or updated in the last 24 hours. And when the need comes, restore that data if ever something disappears.
Awesome. Do you mind kind of sharing the top features, the use case that you find?
Yeah, for sure. So we cover everything from accidental deletions and act as the undo button that doesn't exist natively in things like Jira and Confluence, all the way to entire account restores in terms of ransomware attacks or malicious deletions. So we can really restore both extremes in terms of individual items or the entire account.
It's very needed. Do you mind giving us kind of a visual of exactly how this app works?
Yeah, absolutely. And the best way to kind of get the sense of how Rewind works is to actually delete something in Jira and then use Rewind to try to find it and restore it. So the first thing I'll highlight here is that we're actually on app.rewind.com, which is not normal for a Jira Confluence app. The reason we have an external tool is really to give people the opportunity to use the backups outside the platform that we back up. If the backups were tied to the tool, say Jira, and Jira goes down, well, then your backups go down with it. So that's why we start here. And on the left-hand side, we have the integrations drop-down menu. So all of your backups can be unified under a single account. So I have 4 Jira sites backed up, 2 Confluence, 1 Bitbucket, all unified under a single authentication. If I jump into this Jira site here, we can see that I have my data stored in the United States. We actually offer 4 different data residencies for different countries, including Frankfurt, Germany, London, England, Sydney, Australia, and of course the United States. So any sort of compliance or policies, we want to remain in compliance with those companies that use Rewind. So like I mentioned, every night we run a backup of anything that's changed or been created in the account. You can see here, the last backup finished this morning about 4:46 in the morning, and then the next backup is going to be the same time tomorrow. So that's a 24-hour interval between backups. And then I'll just jump into Jira quickly here and open a bug. And what I can do is something as small as really just deleting this issue description and clicking save. Like I kind of hinted to it, there's no real undo button that's native to the platform, right? I see the change log, I see things like that, but there's no quick button to get that data back. So what I'll do is I'll just copy the name of this Jira issue, jump back into Rewind, and what I can do is actually filter on specific issues to kind of reduce the subset of data that I'm looking at. I'll leave this open for a second because this kind of gives you an idea of the content that we do back up. So this is everything from issues, projects, automations, screens, workflows. These are all backed up and also restorable at a granular level, but again, the entire instance restore is available to you as well. I'll filter on issues, I'll copy and paste that name into the search bar, and I'll click into the View Versions button. Now this Versions button is really cool because it shows you how Rewind backs up the data. Is anytime we've detected a change in this data, we don't overwrite that existing version, we store it in this drop-down menu. So you have every change in the past, right?
Wow.
And we have 365 days of retention, so you can go way back into last year's version of what this issue looks like.
Wow.
So if I'm going back to, say, last month, I get a quick preview of what that looks like. But what I can also do is look at the source code, which really shows you the content in the payload, and what's different is highlighted in green. So if I'm looking for granular changes, this is really where I get to see custom fields that have changed, maybe comments, issue attachments, things like that. For the most part, we see customers just wanting to restore to the most recent version, right? That's the undo button. So I'll just click on this one. I can see that there's the description that I'm looking for. So I'll click the big restore button. I get prompted for a, are you sure? I'll say yes. And then Rewind tells us that that restore is now in progress. So I'll just close this for a second and jump back into the Jira backlog. And in a few seconds, I should be able to refresh and see that description return to that bug.
So it restores it instantly, even though it only backs up once every 24 hours.
Exactly, that's right. And this can take a few seconds, but ultimately, once I click that restore, there's a job that kicks off in the background, and then that will identify what has been changed and restore it back to its original version.
This was a wonderful overview and a great real-world example. I know we've all been guilty of deleting something and wanting to get it back, so a great use case, and I really appreciate you being here today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to meet you.
Great to meet you as well.